waiting on Julie Kelly to see if she could join us. She's been all over the J6 cases and everything around this controversy, including the pipe bomber, and she managed to make time for us on a busy morning for her. Julie, thanks for being here. Your reaction to this breaking news?
It's a welcome development in, I think, arguably the greatest unsolved mystery of January 6th, and that is who planted these devices, apparently the night before. And this is the hoodie individual, as you have covered and showed the video. This individual wearing a hoodie, carrying a backpack, walking around Capitol Hill between 7:30 and 8:30 on January 5th, the night before, and allegedly setting these devices outside the headquarters of the RNC and the DNC, where they were discovered within 20 minutes of each other after sitting there for 17 hours, right as the joint session of Congress was set to begin on January 6th. So this apparently is the individual who's in the hoodie, who the FBI believes set those devices. That evening, your reporting is correct. The name appears to be Brian Cole. Some of the corporate news outlets are reporting via their sources that this individual was tied to Antifa, which, Megyn, explains why the Chris Wray FBI, Joe Biden DOJ, Merrick Garland DOJ buried this in the spring of 2021, even though there was a very intensive investigation going on into the pipe bombs for the first few months of 2021. And if correct, if this is accurate, that this man is tied to Antifa or any of those organizations, it explains why this case went completely cold as of March of 2021 and really nothing else done on it, certainly.
But explain that. Explain why that would be.
Well, think of what was happening in early 2021, Megyn. You know this. The creation, the development of the January 6th insurrection narrative, that this was a bunch of MAGA terrorists who stormed the Capitol at the behest of Donald Trump. And all of the chaos began when this first device was discovered outside the RNC, just a few blocks away from the Capitol, both of these buildings, outside the RNC at 1240, redirecting resources, prompting the evacuation of nearby congressional buildings. And this started the panic that day. So the pipe bomb was really the beginning of the alleged insurrection. Everyone was led to believe early on that this was a MAGA person. And you had representatives who were posting that early on that day as they were being evacuated. I can't believe we're being evacuated from a pipe bomb set by a Trump supporter. So just imagine if by April of 2021, Chris Wray and Merrick Garland, as they were rounding up J6ers, had to announce that this pipe bomber was someone connected to the left. Furthermore, it would have undermined Chris Wray's own insistence that Antifa was not involved in the events of January 6th. He made that determination early on before he even could know of the thousands of people who were at the Capitol, whether there were Antifa or not. So this would have also undermined his insistence that Antifa was not involved in January 6th. As my friend Darren Beatty always said, the pipe bomb story unravels, all of January 6th unravels. So this would explain, if reports are true, why this was kept under wraps, why the case went cold for years until Cash and Dan got in there earlier this year.
It's really amazing, Julie. And just to underscore for the listening audience, we're awaiting a presser from the FBI. We do not yet know whether there are ties to Antifa. That's one report cited to NBC. And we have not matched the reporting. So when we do, or if we don't, we'll report both of those things to you. We're based on an NBC report right now on the Antifa connection. We do know Brian Cole, that's been reported at several outlets now, has been identified and reportedly arrested as the J6 pipe bomber, the man we've been looking for now for 5 years, almost 5 years to the day, in about 30 days or less. And it's really remarkable, Julie, these reports that the FBI did it based on documents inside the building, that they had everything they needed to solve this case all along.
That I'm sure we will find out at 1 o'clock. And also once the indictment is actually posted, we will get more details. And I'm hoping that we will get more answers as to exactly what the FBI has had all along, documents, We know that the FBI early on was trying to track purchases of those very unusual shoes, those Nike shoes. They were trying to find out the brand of the backpack and asking retailers, about sales. This was very intensive. This is not like they just buried it right away. And it appears that they did have a very strong lead. It could be this suspect, as a matter of fact, but they did have strong leads. They were interviewing people all over both of those neighborhoods outside RNC and DNC. So yes, this is why we are hopefully going to get some more responses from the FBI and law enforcement today. That why this has been not just forgotten by the FBI, the Chris Wray FBI. Megan, the media has ignored this as well. They're forced to cover it today, but they have not covered any of the pipe bomb, any of my reporting, certainly, and other reporting showing, for example, the bomb sniffing canines who we are told missed this device outside of the DNC not once but twice because Kamala Harris was arriving there at about 11:25 that morning. So there's still going to be a lot of questions. We still have to tie together whoever this individual is to the discoveries later that day and how this all came together. It's really hard to believe, and I'm going to keep an open mind. It's hard to believe that this individual did this on his own, that the device sat there for 17 hours before they were miraculously discovered at this perfect timing during.
Very interesting. Here's what we know from the Daily Mail, that this Cole is a resident of Woodbridge, Virginia, that he was arrested in the early hours of this morning. The exact charges against him not yet clear. He's expected in court later today, and this comes weeks after the FBI offered a $500,000 reward for leads to identify the suspect. We don't know, though, at this hour, Julie, whether that led to anything. In fact, what we're being told is that there was no new tip. It was based on shoe leather reporting or shoe leather investigation based on what they already had, what had been culled together by previous investigations, we believe. So that's, they've been doing everything they can inside the FBI to amp up the investigation tips on this guy with the reward and so on. Whether they actually got any, we don't know. Let's see. I'm just looking for more on whether, they're saying, this is the Daily Mail, saying sources told MS Now that Cole is believed to be linked to support for anarchist ideologies. He just lives in this quiet Virginia suburb. The heavy police presence outside of his home is what's making headlines right now. So far, we're not seeing anything about a manifesto, about, him having previous arrests, about weird social media. Normally, all that would have been breaking already. Although, can I tell you, it's very possible that the FBI has had a few days to scrub anything that they don't want out there immediately from the internet, as law enforcement typically does.
Correct. So I'm sure we will get some of those answers. But again, I mean, since this is such really was a cold case for years, to your point, almost 5 years ago that this happened, if this person felt like they were surrounding him, that his days were numbered, I'm sure he would have scrubbed whatever he needed to from his own social media, computer, et cetera. Of course, it's easy for law enforcement to retrieve
can I ask you about that, though? That there's been not a hint that an arrest was coming in this case. We had the Blaze report, which we just discussed on Kelly's Court yesterday, on saying it was a woman. It was a female law enforcement agent, retired. And we just discussed whether the Blaze is going to get sued by that woman who, according to CBS, has an alibi showing her on camera with her puppies during the hour that those bombs were placed on J5. Mm-hmm. And, but the FBI has not, there'd been no report at all that they'd identified this person. In fact, if Brian Cole really is the guy, he was probably sitting there reading that Blaze report going, great.
I'm off the hook.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just saying, if they've known about this guy for days or weeks, they did a very good job of keeping it extremely quiet.
Very true. I mean, I know that after that Blaze report came out, Dan Bongino posted something, I think it was a few days later, basically debunking that, dismissing that report, that very sketchy report. Not sure why that was ever published, but there's definitely will be repercussions. As you said, the woman who they identified has an attorney, called this false, defamatory. They might have been waiting for an arrest before they file a lawsuit against certain reporters, online influencers, and the Blaze. We are expecting that lawsuit really anytime. So, yes, but this has been very close hold, except for, say, Dan Bongino posting that. Also, Cash has said in a few recent interviews that there was going to be some big news coming on this investigation. So we weren't sure if that meant they were just going to give us new details. There was some talk about increasing the reward. To your point, they did repost the video at the end of October and added some new footage, apparently. So we know that this has been a top priority. We know that it has been a focus. But yes, I think it came to a lot of people as a surprise today that there was an arrest made.
Yeah. Now, the New York Post, giving his full name is Brian Cole Jr., age 30, of Woodbridge, Virginia.
He's
age
30 now.
30 years old.
So he would have been,
okay, yeah.
25, 26 then when the pipe bomb was planted.
This is crazy. I'm sure they know a lot about this guy at this point. I'm sure he had quite a morning, this Brian Cole, yeah. And better pray to God that he's got some sort of airtight alibi if he wants to get out of this. This is a crazy development today. Again, now almost 5 years to the day, right? 5, yeah. After this whole thing went down. There's the New York Post reporting out that they had Congress had just prepared this report assessing that, quote, little meaningful progress had been made in the pipe bomb investigation, and charging that the feds had refused to provide substantive updates to Congress. So there's been frustration on Capitol Hill about nothing being done in this investigation, and now we have left to ask ourselves, why? When we learn more about this Brian Cole, Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.